Hey, fight fans, welcome back to another edition of the CES podcast. I'm your host, Pat Sullivan. Thank you for making the podcast a part of your day. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Steve Mays from Team CES, and our very special guest, who you see here in the middle, another member of Team CS. He's our broadcaster on UFC Fight Pass. And, I guess, Steve, he also fights for the UFC, secondary to his broadcasting career, which is taken off here under CES and UFC Fight Pass. So, Joe, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So every week, Mays and I get together in a brainstorming session. I know that's hard to imagine. It smells a lot like burning rubber when we get our minds racing. But when we get together, we think about who we're going to have as a guest. This was pretty easy. We've always wanted to have you come on. Just looked for the right angle. Obviously, without a fight coming up, with not a lot going on in the combat sports world. But something happened on our last podcast with a fellow UFC fighter, a former UFC fighter with you, and also someone that you co-host UFC Fight Pass fights with, Tom Lawlor. So before we get your take on that, let's get a clip here from our producer, Andre. The list of guys that would like to see you fight. But with that said, we only have a couple more minutes with you here, Tom. So in that same frame of mind, you're a professional wrestler, professional fighter. Give me one fighter. It doesn't have to be current. Could be in the past. Could be someone you grew up watching, that you would want to fight in MMA, and then somebody you would want to professional wrestle against. One in each sport.
100%. I want to fight Joe Lauzon.
Yes.
You want to fight Joe Lauzon?
Listen. He's been hiding for years. There was one time at the gym, at the old gym, like upstairs. I mean, this is like the homemade mats style gym upstairs, reality self-defense, where he's going for an armbar on me, and Joe Pomfret walks in. Joe Pomfret goes to shake my hand while I'm defending the armbar. So I let go to do it, and Joe armbars me and starts like, "Oh, tapped out." And ever since then, I've never forgotten it. And if I get a chance. Like, if I attacked him in the street, people probably wouldn't be on my side. They'd be like, oh, this guy's bigger. We know Joe can be a bit abrasive, but you probably, shouldn't take it to that level. Now, if I get a chance to get my hands on that little prick inside the cage, that's a different story.
Wow. I mean, first I want to hear your take on this, but calling Joe Lauzon a little that's a new one.
In an armbar, and because his neck, like, he glanced away, and I caught him in an arm lock. So like, if I were Steve Mays, you're a baseball guy. If I'm up at bat, getting ready, eyes on the pitcher, and then I start looking at a cute girl in the first row, and someone strikes me out, is that my fault or is that the pitcher's fault?
Are you saying that you only caught Tom Lawlor in an armbar because he looked at Joe Pomfret?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. If he wants to glance away and I catch him in the arm lock, then that's where it goes. Yeah. I have an even better Tom Lawlor story. This goes back to the Bridgewater days, right? A long time ago. And we're talking about a submission called the Peruvian necktie, right? Which, for you guys that don't know, so Peruvian necktie is you do it from a front headlock position. You basically jump out to the side. You throw one leg over someone's head, like over their neck, and then another leg over their back. And you kind of pinch your knees together, and then you basically deadlift through their neck. And there's it's a very, very valid submission. And Tom, swears up, not a submission. You couldn't do this to me, not a submission. Like, Tom, it's definitely a submission. Like, it's 100% a submission. It's valid. It's 100% not a submission. Let me do it to you, Tom. Okay, we're not going to work. You'll see. Okay, now Tom is much bigger than me, much stronger than me, but I have the better jiu-jitsu. I left Tom snoozing on the mat because he went unconscious. He didn't tap. I mean, to his credit, he didn't tap. But I 100% put him unconscious. And then wake him up and he just kind of let off a grumble. And he just went storming off. I'm sure he went to go try and find something that's probably not edible to eat that he probably tried to eat. But that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes.
So you guys are friendly is what you're saying.
I love Tom. Tom lived with me for a long time. He's my boy. He's my coworker that I'm feeling a little bit bullied. I have to have a word with HR. for someone, spreading false truths about me.
Okay, so now we're going to get to the bottom of this, though. We asked him at the end of the last podcast, who's a better dresser, Tom Lawlor or Mike Parente, who you also co-host UFC Fight Pass with?
It's hard, right? So if you want to be professional, Parente all day, right? If you're trying to be like the Tyler Durden, making a statement, you got to go with Tom. He's going to stand out no matter what.
So Joe, talk to us about your transition from onto the broadcast. Obviously, you still fight, you still train, you still do many other things. But what's it been like sitting ringside with Parente and Lawlor and calling these fights live at UFC Fight Pass?
It's been awesome. It's one of those things I've kind of wanted to do for a long time. But like anything else, I started a jiu-jitsu gym, and I was good at jiu-jitsu, but I wasn't good at running a gym, right? It took some time to kind of get used to all the business side of things and how things are supposed to be done and organized and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of the same thing with doing, commentary, because I don't want to be the one talking over people. I don't want to be stepping on each other's toes. It's kind of getting the kind of the process down a little bit. I know what I'm watching. I know how to say what I'm watching. But, when it's just one person, it's pretty easy. If I was just on my own, I could talk. I don't have to worry about, it's easy to give, commentary and kind of just let my consciousness just kind of come out and go. But now it's you're trying to, coincide with a couple other people. It's a little harder, but it's good. I thought it went pretty good the first time. I think it'll get better each time. It's like anything else. When you start something, you're not the best at it, but you constantly try to make progress and get better. And I think it'll just get better and better. But it's fun. I really enjoyed doing it.
Joe, you said you lived with Tom for a little while. How long did Tom live with you?
So Tom, I've had a bunch of UFC guys that live with me. So Tom Lawlor lived with me for I don't know how long. It's all kind of blurred. Maybe 2 years, probably around a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay. In the 2 years that you lived with Tom, how many times when he had something to eat were you absolutely disgusted?
Retching? Yeah, it's been a few times. Tom is I don't want to sully his name on some of the things, but Tom has eaten some really, really disgusting things. One thing that's not too gross, but kind of gross.
You can sully him all you want.
That is true. That is true.
I'm still not gonna. I am a prick, though. I'm definitely a prick, especially in the gym. I'm gonna do everything I can to make you hate life.
I'll tell you what, Joe. Just to save people's stomach, don't go to the Egg McMuffin story.
That's the one I was going to talk. I think that's not the one that's that bad.
No, now we got to hear it. Now we have to hear it.
When Tom lived with me, we would drive up to Wakefield, which is a little over an hour from me. We go up to Mike Boyle's strength conditioning. We lived with Kyle Holland, who was our strength coach for a long time. And we used to live with Travis Stevens, who won a silver in the Olympics, judo, a couple other really good guys. We had a really good group. So we go up there all the time. And it was an hour drive back. So we would stop and get McDonald's on the way home pretty much every time, right? And we'd get Egg McMuffins. And so I would just get 2 McMuffins and I would just eat them like a normal person. I'm eating the top, I'm eating the bottom, I'm eating the whole sandwich. I'm just pounding them down. Tom would be this is right when he first moved in with me, because he was living down in Florida, and him and his girlfriend drove up from Florida with their cat all the way up to Massachusetts, right? So you can imagine what kind of shape the car floor was in, with sand and cat hair and all this other stuff. It was pretty gross. So Tom's driving. So he's driving his car, and he's trying to disassemble these Egg McMuffins and take the bottom off one, take the top off the other, and put them together. And but he's driving as he's trying to do this. It's so he drops it, and it lands egg side down on the floor. And I'm oh, well, that's a loss. You're not going to eat that one, right? It's covered in cat hair and sand and dirt and just filth. It's gross. And Tom earns his nickname, Filthy Tom Lawlor. And he's bullshit. And he's that Egg McMuffin was $1. So he takes it, puts it together, and just eats the entire thing. The most disgusting cat hair. Because you got to think how those Egg McMuffins are. It's a very spongy kind of texture. Ugh, so gross. So gross. And that's not even the bad story. There's way worse stories. But
is that how we got the
nickname
Filthy?
Yeah, 100%. That's how he gets the nickname Filthy. He'll eat anything.
Joe.
Anything.
Joe, how is he to commentate with? When you're sitting next to him, obviously you guys are friendly, right? We're blowing this up a little bit. You're friendly. How is he to commentate with? He's a good brain. He's a good fight brain. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's talking about. You guys bounce stuff off each other. How is he to sit next to in the booth?
It's great. So Tom's done a bunch of these shows before. The last one was my first one, right? So I'm kind of following his lead a little bit. There's definitely times when Tom and I will disagree, and it's not that either one of us are really right or wrong. Sometimes we're disagreeing just to kind of throw and launch stuff at each other. So I think that will come out. As we do a few more shows, I get a little more comfortable. Like I'm trying not to rock the boat. I'm trying to just make everything go smooth. Because I just don't know the process as much. So Tom's been great. It's a little bit weird because Tom and I kind of do the same thing, right? So Tom's definitely a little bit more colorful than me and a little funnier than me. But we both super know exactly what we're looking at, So it's kind of it's a little bit of a different dynamic, but I think it's going to be a really good dynamic that as time goes on, I think you're basically going to get two guys that are both, high level UFC fighters that are just, hanging out, super relaxed, talking about fights and what they're seeing, like almost like, just like, because we are just two buddies talking about fights, which I think is a little different. I don't think any other show is really doing that so much. Like the UFC has a couple, fighters that have transitioned a little bit, but CES is, definitely, standing above everyone else, when it comes to
and
that.
And then you got the man in the middle, Mike Parente,
He's awesome.
The man on the mic. He is good.
Dude,
I think
God.
He's one of the more rated broadcasters.
Dude, thank God for Mike, because he 100% steers that ship. It's like, Tom and I are just like doing whatever, and Parente just like, he jumps right on. He has the timing down. Like he gave I think for the first show he did, he had like this whole like blurb, and he just like did it off the top of his head. Like he just went with it and just ran. And I'm like, How did he remember all this stuff? Like he's remembering this and that, blah, blah. It was good. He's awesome. Very professional.
And actually, Steve, you go all the way back to 2012. I think it was like our 14th or 15th show. We did a dunk, the pay-per-view of Batista, and Joe was our in-cage interviewer that day.
He was.
That was such a clusterfuck. That wasn't supposed to happen that way. So that night, I thought I was doing commentary when I was driving. So I started driving to the dunk. I thought I was doing commentary that night. And then somewhere between like I was within like a mile of the place. Like, hey, we're not going to do commentary. We're going to interview people in the cage after. And I'm like, what? And then the only person I interviewed, I think, was Batista, which is just weird. It's like he's like this big, huge person. He doesn't give two shits what I have to say. What I'm trying to ask him, he's just like, he knows what he wants to say, doesn't care. I'm just kind of looking around awkward like a dummy. I'm like, But it was good. It was a good experience because it went horrible from my end. So I mean, we had to be up. It was going to go smooth after that. Anything else we did?
Oh man, Joe, what as the tail end of your career is upon us, is this something
talking about
that you want to?
Yeah, says who?
Is all right, both of you. Enough. I'm asking the questions here. Is this something that you're going to pursue moving forward, commentating and getting more involved in a production and a TV point of view?
I mean, maybe. I mean, it's definitely fun to do. Like, I like doing the CES shows. If the UFC wanted me to do something, like it would be a little bit harder because obviously there's a lot more travel involved, right? It's like, it's going to Vegas or Dubai and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I like being around for my gym. My gym's in Easton, so I like being there for that. I like being around my kids. Like, I don't want to like have to do a ton of travel, so it's like it works out really, really well with CES, where they're one of the best local shows around. So. So I really enjoy doing that. I don't know if I'd want to get bigger and do more, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. See how it goes. I enjoy doing it. It's good. Like I've done so many interviews and like put a camera in front of me, put a mic. I'm not gonna really. I'm not gonna get confused. I'm not gonna get worried about something I said. I'm not. No problems there. So it's been pretty smooth sailing. But I like doing it. It was fun, especially doing it with Tom. Like it's great doing it with Tom.
Yeah, you're not giving us the shit talking that Tom gave us last week. So you're taking the high road.
I'm a professional.
I expect nothing else out of you.
So my problem is when it comes to shit talking, I go way past the line of where I should go sometimes. Like I just get on a roll and I can't help myself, and then all of a sudden they call it a Joe reaction. I go. It's just it's bad. So we'll keep it cordial.
All right. So Joe,
you must have learned from the best.
We're on a making fights locally with a lot of guys from Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Hampshire, all fighting each other. And then we got to a point where I would call fighters and offer them fights, and they would say, "Oh, I trained with him at Joe's." And thinking, you train with him at Joe's. You live in New Hampshire. He lives in Rhode Island. How the hell do you train with him at Joe's? That's a lot of work to get there. Then I realized it's because you had these Saturday sparring sessions where everybody would go down and kind of make, I guess, as Steve used to call it, the best of the best would go all in train, and you'd have a lot of elite fighters. iron sharpens iron, I guess. So my question for you is tell me maybe some of the one of the best, sparring matches you ever had down there, and give me one name of an up and coming fighter that maybe we don't know about that you think is really going to make some noise here.
We have a lot of guys that, I'm super lucky that everyone comes to us on Saturdays, right? It's not necessarily that they're coming because of me. I think they're coming because of it's a good environment, right? So, I literally don't want anything but people to do well. I want everyone to win. I want everyone to do well. I don't care about, this guy in New England fighting this other guy in New England. Like I care about the guys in New England beating everyone else outside New England, bringing people in. So, I'm really lucky in that regard. We have a really, really good dynamic, no egos, get along with everyone. Like I don't really there's very few people in the New England scene that I don't really like or care for. So it's good. A lot of people just come in and train and just get really good training. And I'm not trying to be pushy. I want to help out everyone I can. Say someone like Hillary. I will help out Hillary and I will do everything I possibly can. She's got a big fight coming up on the Dana White Contender Series. She had a bunch of fights in CES. And she's going to make her progression. She's going to go, right? And if she wanted me to corner, I would 100% help her out. But I'm never ever going to be the person that kind of force me, like, oh, I have to be in the corner. I'm only going to help you from the corner. Like right. I don't care. I want to see everyone do well. I understand from the fighter perspective how it has to be what's best for the fighter and corners and everything else. And like if people want help, I'm 100% down to help them. If they want just help in my gym, but they don't want otherwise, and that's fine too. I'm okay with that. So it's good. As far as the hardest sparring sessions, the hardest people to deal with, we have so many people that come through that, every fight we get for my fights, we get super specific on who we're going to spar with, right? If I'm fighting a southpaw, I will not even stand in front of someone that's orthodox for the entire camp. If I'm fighting or some orthodox, I'll step in front of someone that's southpaw. So we get very specific and we try to just, we start with that. And then we work on style, and then we work on height, weight, range, all that kind of stuff. And we try to get as specific as possible.
Sure.
So every single camp, work with Steve Mays on my boxing stuff, right? So we're always dialing in things, and we're trying to work on certain shots and certain situations, and we try to make them repeat and happen over and over and over. So every single camp, it's I might have a hard camp with Nate Andrews, who's giving me really, really hard work. I might have a really hard camp this time with Nate because I'm trying to work on specific things that Nate's good at. And the next time I might have a little bit easier time with Nate because I'm doing something that I'm a little bit better at and he's not quite as good at. So it's everyone, I've been really lucky to have so many good training partners. Nate's one of those guys that, it's hard. It's hard rounds. Nate's very, very good. Nate's, I was telling him last week, he's also that guy that he only wants to come around when he's in fight shape. Right. So you get those guys like Nate wants to come in. He's got a fight coming up. So he's coming in, he's getting ready, and he's in great shape. And he's when he hits you, he hurts you or something, he stays on you, which is what he should do. It's 100% what you should do when you're in fight camp. But when Nate's a little out of shape, Nate's not usually the first person jumping in on spar. And he's I'm good. So he's one of those guys. Love you, Nate. But it's good. We have a lot of really, really good, really, really good teammates. It's not just good fighters. We have a lot of really good teammates. Guys show up and, if I don't have a fight coming up, I generally don't spar unless someone else needs me. If someone else needs me and I happen to fit, I'm a righty, I'm kind of aggressive, I'm kind of a technical brawler, good jiu-jitsu, I'm 100%. If I'm the right guy for them, I'm 100% down to do rounds with them and get them going. And I think other people are kind of following the same thing now. I think that, when they're useful, they're definitely all about, volunteering and offering to get in there.
So, Joe, I know we haven't even touched on your UFC career. We touched a little bit on the gym, but there's no doubt that people are watching this today to hear the answer to Tom Lawlor's call out. So let's get back to what we really came for today. If we could ever put it together where you would grapple Tom Lawlor in the cage, off camera, on camera, before a fight, do you accept the challenge of Tom Lawlor to get in there with him at some point in time?
Of course. I told you, Tom's bigger and stronger, but I have the better jiu-jitsu.
So it's 100%. Challenge accepted is what you're saying.
Challenge accepted, now, yeah. He doesn't even make weight. He doesn't I'm not even going to, I could make him make weight or cut down a little bit. Nope, we're good. Whatever you want to weigh, Tom. He's big and he's strong, but I get the better jiu-jitsu. Now, I'm down.
Now, he also said wrestling. Is that something you may want to do too? Are you gonna have to call Biggie or somebody like that, or
no?
Are you gonna have to reach out Are you gonna have to reach out to the DSP for some help? How are you gonna do that? How are you gonna do the rest?
No way. I am the
So
shark.
it's not
when it comes to
accepted.
jiu-jitsu. Tom is the shark when it comes to wrestling. Hell no. Hell no.
Okay.
I'm already
Do you
giving
watch-
him 30 pounds. I'm already giving him 30 pounds. Least he can do is give me my sport instead of his.
Do you ever watch
So-
Tom's wrestling match?
I've seen a couple clips. I used to watch a ton of wrestling when I was in like high school and like middle school. I haven't watched. I don't think I've watched 2 wrestling matches since then. I started doing jiu-jitsu and it ruined it for me. Like that's not the way that arm lock works. It's bullshit.
So if you had to wrestle Tom Lawlor, what would your move be?
I'd immediately kick him in the balls and guillotine him. No, kick him in the balls. Guillotine him. That's it. Nothing. Maybe an eye poke. No, whatever.
Oh man.
I have my brother hiding under the ring with a chair and a table. Calling it D'Lo.
So
upgrade.
Pat, I know you're the matchmaker at CES here, but these guys called each other out. They both said, "Yes, your job's done. You've made the match. That's it. It's over."
I guess so.
The podcast has now made Bruce Boynton and Matt Bissett. We have a call out from Nate Andrews to Joe Giannetti, and you have an accepted fight between Tom Lawlor
I hope that fight
and
happens.
Joe Lauzon. What
I hope
fight's
that
that,
fight
Joe?
The Nate Andrews fight.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay.
Yeah.
I hope it does too.
Give
I think
us
it's a great fight.
your 2-minute expert breakdown on that fight.
There's a little bit of bad blood there. I'm not a big JoJo fan.
So moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, right. There you go.
No,
Nate's better everywhere.
Joe,
Nate's better.
Joe is-
Nate's the longer, better striker. He's the better grappler, the better wrestler. Nate's better everywhere. He I hope the fight happens. Giannetti keeps always talking like, oh, comeback season. It wouldn't even be competitive, honestly. Like and I hope that me saying that doesn't make him not want to do it. But I'm sure they're training it. It wouldn't even be close.
Wow.
But I would love to see it.
okay.
It wouldn't be it wouldn't even be as close as you and Tom Lawlor.
Tom could beat me. He could definitely beat me. Like he's good. I'm better, but Tom's
But
good.
will he? But he could
I
beat
don't
you,
think
but
so.
will he?
He could be. I don't think so.
If you were gonna sub him, what would you sub him with? Like, what's he in your opinion? In your opinion, what is the move that
Call
he
your
would
shot.
just fall into?
What's he most susceptible to?
Yeah.
Maybe a straight arm lock. That's what I hit him. That's what he's complaining about. That's what I hit him with before.
Yeah, listen. If you do this, you have to hit him with the same move that he complains about. It has to be the
I'll
same.
get Joe Pomfret on the side, calling, "Hey Tom, Tom looking."
He can be the referee.
Yeah, we could make that happen. Just
Joe,
give
this
Tom
would-
some good excuses.
Joe, this wouldn't be the first time that you were in a grappling match because somebody called you out.
It would not
With
be.
Joe Pomfret, and Joe Pomfret would be the referee. So
I think I made like $8,000 that time. $6,000, whatever it was. I made some money last time.
it was $6,000, and it's got tons of YouTube views.
Yeah.
So you never
Shout
know.
out Nick the Tooth. Shout out Nick the Tooth.
All right, Joe.
What is
We're
CES
running out of
paying
time.
for this
So
match? What is CES paying for this match? Is what I want to know. What kind of?
You're breaking up, Joe. We can't.
Yeah, Joe, your video's not working. But
Yeah.
before we go, I got one more thing for you. You fought at the Garden before, and you've had a lot of fans there in your corner. What was it like when you? I'm assuming it might have been a childhood dream to be doing something at the Boston Garden. We all grew up in the state, wishing to be in the Garden and do something. And for you to walk out and hear all your fans cheering your name and just celebrating in the cage, what was that like?
Oh, it was awesome. So it's deafening, right? It's deafening. You can feel the crowd. So crazy. Like I felt like such like a pussy in my last fight too, like walking out. Cause like I'm walking out and I got like all these emotions going and like I almost feel like I want to cry a little bit. And it's hard, people don't realize like how much goes into a fight camp sometimes. Like, so I'm walking out like, and I'm ready to like, I'm 100% dialed in and ready to murder right now. But at the same time, it's kind of like, oh, is this the last time? Like, what's going on? And then they call out Jonathan Pierce's name and the crowd starts just like booing so bad. It was like it being a Yankees game or something. They're just booing. And I'm like, guys, cut the crap. You know what I mean? Like, that's cool with the booing. And they cheer for me and I just, raised my hand. It felt so awesome. It was great. It's so awesome. Like, New England fans are just so passionate about sports. It was great having I had so many people. So these are the green shirts we did from my last fight. So it was awesome. Even just watching all the footage after, you go and watch, you can see all the different green shirts. They just stand out so much. It's great. I have tons of support, whether it's people that I've never met before, or people that I've trained with at some point, or people that have helped me currently, or whatever. It's just it's awesome to have so much support. And I try to rally. I try to not be I'm not going to say I'm the king of New England MMA, but I'm definitely one of the bigger names, and I definitely think I get along with everyone. So I think I do a good job kind of pulling everyone together, and it all kind of came together at a peak, for my last fight, which is great.
Sure.
Actually,
we appreciate your time here on the. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
At the post-fight interview, I think somebody even said that one of the interviewers, so a kid was standing in front of a reporter and said, "Just so you know, I'm not going to sit down during this fight. I flew all the way here to see Joe Lauzon. I'm from Missouri. Joe has no idea who this person is, but he's got a Joe Lauzon shirt on.
That's
and
cool.
He had flown all the way to Boston just to see Joe, and I don't even think to this minute Joe's even met the person. So, and that the reporter mentioned it in the post-fight interview. So, when you see 600 green shirts and they're from all over the U.S., it's I know for me it was special. It has to be even more special for somebody like Joe. So.
It's cool. It's great. It's just when you have everyone backing you, unwavering support. It's great. What's better than that? There's nothing better. Everyone, I've been to, local shows where you get a couple people cheering and going crazy for someone, but it's just so much bigger when there's people that you've never met. It's one thing when your brother or your family's cheering and you feel crazy, right? But it's another thing when there's people you've never met, or people that maybe you have some kind of connection to, but nothing super strong, or or the people, people I've never met that I don't even know their names. But it's so important for them, and they have such undying support. It's just great.
Yeah, that's cool. We're running out of time here on the program, Joe. We appreciate you joining us as always. But before we go, a lot of people know Steve Mays as the man behind the scenes in the locker room, getting all the fighters ready.
The number one.
But give the fans a quick 1 minute background on Steve Mays and what he means to your career and getting you ready for these fights.
Here we go. Steve Mays has probably been the most influential person on my entire fighting career since Joe Pomfret. Joe Pomfret was my coach in day one up until I was probably 20 years old. And now Steve Mays has been the one guy. If I had one guy in my corner for a fight, wouldn't matter if I was fighting a jiu-jitsu guy, it would be Steve Mays. He gives you the perfect, he has such like I said, the undying support. Number one guy
Gable grip
in my corner all the time. Knows what a gable grip is. He hates jiu-jitsu. I've taught him quite a few things in jiu-jitsu now. He's screaming out gable grip, all your might. He knows all this stuff, right? It's he hates jiu-jitsu, but he knows it because it's important. Steve's the best. If I had, like I said, if I had to fight anyone, anywhere, and I had one corner, it would be Steve Mays every single time. One of the things, I know CES, all the fighters, they kind of, know him as kind of the Burt Watson of the CES, right? He's kind of in the back, he's kind of making things happen, whatever. But on fight night for me, it's he tells me anything that I feel I can run through a wall every single time. He just and it's not just me, it's every fighter that works with Mays. He just starts whispering in your ear before you walk in the corner, behind the curtain, and just you feel you can do anything. You just feel you're unstoppable. You can walk through fire and hell, and it doesn't matter. You're gonna go right through. So it's the best.
Awesome. And now Steve's telling you that you gotta fight Tom Lawlor. So he's
yeah
he's giving you the advice on that one too.
He's always in my corner until now. Now he's gonna I'm gonna be impartial. I'm not gonna corner either guy.
Can't do it.
Bullshit.
Can't do it. I told you if you ever fought Danny that I would never corner either of you, and if you fight Tom, I'm just gonna sit there and watch. That's it.
Hope if I fought Danny now, you'd be in my corner.
I love Danny.
Maybe now.
I would never stray from that. I love the upgrade. There's no doubt.
I get along with Danny all the time now too. So much better than we used to too. He told me last week before the July thing that he was gonna we should have a rematch in the backyard, and I felt completely calm. I kept my hands down. I wasn't even worried he was gonna sucker punch me, which is so different. A few years ago, I'd be concerned. He's drinking a little bit. I'd be concerned that something's coming my way, but I was I felt confident. I kept my hands down. I didn't even get concerned. Danny and I get along great now.
Oh man.
All right, Joe. We appreciate the time on the program today, and look forward to hearing you call some UFC Fight Pass shows with us again once we can open up the arenas and open up the cage door for our fighters and have you ringside with Tom and Mike and calling the fights. The best trio on the mic in the sport, in my opinion.
We got it down. Do we know?
Yeah.
I'm going to sidetrack your outro. Do we have any kind of rough date? What are we thinking for our next show? Do we have any ideas?
We've been in contact with all the commissions out here. We put together some COVID guidelines that we're submitting for their approval, and once we get those approved, then we're going to be announcing some dates here shortly. So get the vocal cords ready.
I got them. I'm ready. I got you. You're all rested up.
You know what the best part about Joe is, Steve, is he's not worried that he's got to out-style Parente or out-crazy Tom Lawlor's shirts. He just shows up and does what he does.
That's it. He knows better than that.
I send my wife on Amazon. She picks out a couple shirts, and we're good. I don't care. I'm not trying to.
All right, Joe. Thanks for the time today. Steve Mace, Andre Griffith, our producer. Thank you all for watching the podcast today. And stay tuned, fight fans, for some announcements on CES Boxing and MMA and when we're going to be opening the cage and the ring again. Thanks for tuning in.